All right, hey guys, we're back here for our third edition of the Deck Talks from Newtown Square coming out on deck. Today we have Doc Neiman. He's the head coach at Clarion. Obviously, last season was a little bit of a wash for everybody, so it's going into this would be your second year?
Yeah, correct.
And I'll kind of let you give your background. I got your stuff here, and it's a lot, which usually means there's a lot of accomplishments. So I know you were previously at sales, and then I actually noticed I saw you played it with the Washington Wild Things, which I did as well, probably way before you. But and I know your dad has a pretty big legacy at the sales, and you were coaching with him for a long time, and you've got to be pretty excited now to have your own program going after probably a lot of years under your dad. Now you get to be the guy in charge. So Jake Carr's with me as usual, computer science hitting coach, and I know this talk will probably end up being more catcher oriented. We've done some hitting before, so it's good to get a guy with some catching expertise as well. But I don't think it's ironic. I've always heard catchers make the best coaches. So I think 2 out of 3 coaches we talked to were catchers. So,
Hopefully that's the case.
So if you want to just give us, to start, a quick background on you and, how you got to the position you're in now.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. This is great. And first 2 ones you guys ran were outstanding. So privileged to be on here with those guys who have talked first. Played at Sales University, played 5 years under my dad from 07 to 2011. Spent, it was obviously a great time playing for him, and his name and his legacy, like you said, speaks for itself. And I can literally say I played for one of the best coaches in the country. So I'm thrilled to do that and call him my dad, obviously. After that, in that time frame, actually, I worked for the Iron Pigs, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, as a bullpen catcher. So I was there from 2010, 2011 mostly, and then parts of 12, 13, and 14, just kind of helping out when I could. In that time frame as well, I signed a professional contract with the Washington Wild Things in 2012. I was there for a short period of time, but got a chance to live the pro ball life and really enjoyed that, and thankful I had the opportunity to do that. Also got a chance to work at IMG Academy for 2 summers from about May to August or so, running camps and running the 15U World Summer League, which were kids from all across the country and world. Even we had some out of the country kids come in, and they play a couple games a day throughout the summer, and it was just a really good experience to kind of manage a team from that aspect of things. After that, kind of got back into the college coaching things. Spent 4 years with my dad as an assistant, mostly working with catchers and hitters, coaching third base. Decided it was time to kind of get away from dad finally after a long time, and took a volley job down at Erskine College under Coach Crocco, who was a good friend of mine. So I got that opportunity. From there, continued to grow and got an opportunity up here at Clarion as an assistant under Coach Williams. And then, things kind of took over from there. He left for a new job, and I got the chance to take over as interim, and then was hired this past summer full-time as the head coach. So really excited to be here, blessed to be here, and look forward to continuing my career here.
It's great. Sounds like you definitely had an interesting road as opposed to just kind of being a GA assistant and head coach. So from that experience, is there any one of those places that you feel like helped you the most now that you are a head coach with, bringing either culture or team management, things like that? Like we just were talking about being a catcher, you tend to manage the pitchers. I think that helps when you're the head coach, I guess. I never caught, so
Yeah, I think each stop obviously has had a lot of impact on me. Obviously, being with my dad, I had a lot of hands-on activities. He kind of let me run free with a lot of the stuff I was doing, and then kind of going into a role where I was strictly a volley. Worked with the catchers at Erskine mainly and ran the JV program. You take bits and pieces, and I think that's what's important about coaching in general is you get to surround yourself with so many good coaches and so many good people that you can take bits and pieces and what works for them and what doesn't work necessarily with your philosophy as far as coaching. So to me, getting the opportunity to go down south to a completely different style of baseball, the Division II level, really got to learn and see what it was like. And then coming up here as an assistant, again, the same kind of idea. I ran the catchers, worked with infielders, hitters a little bit as well. But I got to see what worked in a really good competitive PSAC. You have Coach Sheehan and Coach Kamansky was on recently with you guys. Those guys know what it's like. Those guys are winning and top level in this conference, and that's one place we would like to be one day as well. So you kind of got to see all those impacts and those little details that people use, and you take it and make it your own. So I think it's really important, to do that as a coach, especially a younger coach like myself. When you're around so many knowledgeable people, take that and just kind of run with it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's okay. It's part of it.
I think especially, I remember going back to Coach Sheehan, he's big, and it seems, I think when you're younger too, to not be afraid to fail with things and try different stuff. And just, if it's not working, all right, we'll try the next thing and not get stuck in your ways a little bit, which I think can probably be a risk the longer you've been somewhere. Which I guess maybe that'd be an interesting question. Like with your dad, were there times where you felt maybe being younger, there was a new perspective or new training styles and stuff that, how do guys who stay in it a long time stay fresh with their coaching styles and stuff?
Yeah, obviously it's a game of failure. So learning from mistakes and learning from different things is part of the game and part of coaching. And I think that's something that I'm still continuing to learn as a young coach. But, it's fun now because me and him got to kind of throw ideas back and forth with each other. Obviously, he's very, very old school. And nowadays the technology stuff is coming in to play more and more with baseball, offense, pitching, everything, you name it. So, and to me, I'm still learning that as well. I'm not a big data guy, but we do use some here, mainly because our kids like it. So it's a way for me to expand my knowledge and learn. And, Jake's a really good friend of mine, so me and him get to have really good conversations back and forth with the hitting kind of data. And I know me and him, bounce ideas back and forth, and he'll probably even tell you I'm a little bit old school when it comes to that stuff as well for being a younger coach. But I just think it's interesting. And again, that's something that you take with you. And, obviously watching my dad be so successful for 32 years, he's doing something right without a lot of that data information. So I think it's part of the world we live in. You got to take bits and pieces of each and kind of make it your own, but don't overdo it at the same time. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
With that, before maybe diving into more of the catching, that's something, here at our facility, we're trying to implement more tech. I'm old school too, so it's a learning curve for me, but that's why I hire young guys who know how to turn them on and get the Bluetooth to connect. Sometimes that's a challenge for me. But what are you guys using these days? And, without giving away too many secrets of, what the hitting philosophies and stuff, what are you guys using? How do you look at it, and how do you use it for development of your players?
Yeah, from an offensive standpoint, we, again, don't do a whole lot. We use the blast motion, which I really like, just to see numbers. And it also makes the guys competitive with it. We track only a handful of things down there. There's probably 12, 15 different categories that it tracks. We only track mainly 3 or 4: on plane percentage, time to contact, bat speed, hand speed. And again, we track it and we post it so our guys can kind of see where they're at compared to each other. And then we also give them a range of what a pro guy may be or a top D1 prospect kind of guy. So again, it's a competition for them to kind of use that and make themselves better. With that, we use the training tools, the hit jackets, different bats, the heavyweights, the underloads, those kind of things from an offensive standpoint. And then film really is a big thing for us. We have the luxury of hooking up our cameras right to our office TV. So when we're done practice, whether it's a bullpen or a hitting session, we can get right in and dive in and let them see it right away. That way they understand what they're doing too. And I think that's the biggest thing, is getting kids nowadays to see and realize what they're doing, and not just say, yeah, I understand what you're saying. they can physically see it. And I think that goes a lot further than any kind of data.
Pictures don't lie.
Yeah, they don't, 100%.
Videos definitely don't lie. There's no doubt about that. It's also really, I think going off what you said, it also gives you the ability to almost back up. The technology gives you the ability to back up what you're already telling them. It's like, hey, look, you're doing this, you're doing that, and then you show them in a video, and it's like, see, I'm not just telling you this because I want to hear myself talk for fun all day long in practice. I'm telling you this because this is what you're doing. It's going to help you.
Right.
And I think that the technology's done a better job of giving us backing up data so that it's like, hey, look, the data even says this too. And especially in today's game, when we're such a data-driven game, and I wouldn't say it's less about feel, but I would say that it's more, going off of what the Tampa Bay Rays and analytics. They followed their analytical, card that they had, and it said to pull the guy in the whatever inning, and sometimes it comes back to hurt you, sometimes it doesn't. But we're in such an analytical-driven era now that it helps back up what we're seeing with our own two eyes and trying to prove that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like guys who struggle a lot, they can go back and look at this data. Again, for us, we don't use a whole lot, but the blast motion, they're struggling with whatever. It's like, dude, your numbers right here are showing you got the best numbers on the team, or you're right there in the mix. Like, take that and run with that with the confidence, even because as we know, like anything in baseball is confidence. If you don't have confidence, you're not going to hit. You're not going to field a ground ball. You're not going to throw a strike. You're not going to catch it, whatever it may be. So those numbers go back and help these guys, I think, just as much, like you said, Jake, just backing up what they have. Their skills. They're obviously in college or at whatever program they are for a reason because they can play. Use that kind of information to help those guys gain forward and gain confidence.
Speaking, to that, from a culture perspective, what is, what's your, and being kind of newer as a head coach, I'm sure, it's always hard to create that culture.
Yeah.
What are kind of your goals in that sense, and any tricks you have to create that competitive atmosphere but supportive and stuff? So we were talking with Coach K, he said he's a little more old school, and he's gotten away from when I was growing up too, is they kind of screamed and yelled at you to get you to play better, and I think we're seeing that doesn't always work. A lot of times, but there was also, I think, a phase of that of it makes you tougher, and it's like, well, does it really? And I think people are, head coaches overall, obviously there's that respect level you have to keep.
Yeah.
But also, I think being a little bit more positive environment than the fear and intimidation and you better play good or you're coming out kind of.
Right. Yeah, I think, again, kind of being around my dad, it really helped me get a grasp on things and how he has so much respect. Now, obviously, he's been doing it a lot longer than I have already and been in the game a lot longer. But, that respect is what the kids want. The kids want respect. And I think, the players have changed from the times that we have played to kids now, just the way they are, the way they're made up, their makeup. But I think the one thing that, the toughest part for me, I should say, was being an assistant for a year and then coming and taking over, because as assistants, you typically are the go-to guy, right? Like if a guy has an issue with the head coach or they're upset because of playing time, they're probably going to come to the assistant coach first and, just kind of talk to you. So, you're the buddy for them. You're a mentor. And then you take over, and it's like, okay, like you said, you got to scream and yell a little bit. But one thing we try to do is obviously I don't yell unless they deserve it, and that's disrespecting the game or disrespect the staff or you're not giving your best effort that day. We talk about whatever percentage you got that day, whether it's 80%, give me your max 80%. And we typically can tell. You can tell if a guy's tired that day from a lift or just a long day in the classroom, and it's going to happen. It's part of it. It's a grind in the college baseball world. So you can tell, but if they're not giving their full effort that day, whatever it may be, you can get on them a little bit. But I think in the long run, they do respect that. rather than yelling constantly every single day, getting on them for every small little thing they do. If they miss a ground ball, there's no reason to get on them because they know they messed up. They know they made an error or whatever it may be. Or same thing at the plate. If they strike out on a pitch that needs to be hammered or whatever it may be, you don't have to get on them all the time. So that's one thing I try to be cautious about is just teaching when I can and getting on them when I have to. Again, if you're disrespecting the game or whatever it may be. And then at the same time, love these guys. These guys are our guys particularly have been through a lot with getting some new facilities on campus and not having the luxury of practicing indoors for a couple of years. Obviously, the coaching switch back and forth. So one thing I really learned, through listening to Zooms all off season from March until now is love your guys. And that's one thing we really try to do is no matter what, we tell them we love them. We tell them how proud we are of them, whether it's in the classroom, on the field, the way they play. That's just important to me. I think that goes a lot further than a win or a loss, honestly.
I think I would agree, especially when it goes to building a culture. Kind of, going off the question that you were asking, it gives you the ability to create an environment where kids want to come in, kids want to succeed because they know you have their back. I think you're completely right with you. You got to get on them sometimes. I mean, you get those days, and we all played. We all know we've gone through the motions some days, and it's not something you want to do. But you have every right to get on a kid the day that they're just going through the motions and not giving you effort. But being able to show them that you love them, that you're proud of them, it does go a lot longer, a much farther way, especially when you're trying to build a culture. That's probably the hardest part about building a culture is kind of putting down the groundwork that'll lead to success. Probably 10 years down the road. I know both of our programs are kind of in that spot right now where you're trying to build that winning culture that kind of substantiates year in and year out. And it's definitely a really tough thing to do. It's not easy, that's for sure. Definitely take your lumps some days. And then there's other days, you kind of get that feeling of, it's coming together. I think, we talk all the time, you guys are kind of starting to hit that peak where it's like, starting to come together and everything's starting to move in the right direction. And, we're starting to build a winning culture where, it's more of a family-oriented environment than it is, we're just a team. We're just guys who are hanging out for 4 years. And
Right.
You want to come back to alumni games and people want to come back and support you. I think it's the same in the facility as well, to be honest. I know, it's kind of more how can we create a family-like environment here where kids come in, they get better at baseball, they learn more about baseball. How can we become a hub of knowledge, to help, parents, kids, and anyone else around, who maybe this reaches some kid who can't pay to get into a facility. But,
Right.
The kid now has the ability to listen to us, talk about the game, and has the ability to become a better baseball player because of it.
Yep. No, you're right. I mean, you're right on. And that's one thing, we try to do is we need kids that want to be here. First off and foremost, because, like you said, we're working our way back up top, hopefully, but when we do get here, we want kids who want to get better. They want to learn. I'm a big development guy, as you guys know, from my background, and I love to teach and I love to coach. And, we need those kind of guys who are going to put that effort in every single day. And like I said, that goes a lot further away. And we might not, be PSAC champs one day, but these kids are going to learn and better themselves as ball players and as people, and that's the kind of culture we want. We want kids that come in and are going to give their full effort every single day and better themselves. Again, if they come in and, we can develop those guys for 4 years and they become really good college baseball players, and at the end of the day, we're a 500 team, so what? I'm happy with that. I know those guys busted their butts for me every single day, and they're going to love what we do. They're going to be respectful, both on and off the field in the classroom. And that's the most important thing to me. Again, the wins and losses will come, hopefully more wins than losses, but it's part of the game, and, I'm excited to be here and the guys we have and the recruiting classes are coming along for us. And it's a climb. It's going to take some time for sure, but, one day at a time.
I think it goes back to the thing we always talk. I can't remember who we heard say it, but they said, if I'm not invited to one of my players' weddings 5 years after they graduate, then I didn't do my job right.
100%. Yeah. We always tell them they come in with a blank sheet of paper. That's your resume. When you leave, if that's not filled up, that's my fault. That's my fault. That means I didn't do my job from a coaching standpoint to get you prepared with your major or help you out getting internships or just teaching you life lessons, which, we do a lot. We get a lot of guest speakers to talk to our guys, whether it's inspirational, whether it's motivational, whether it's position specific. We want those guys to learn from some great people, so the more we can get them involved, and, we say we want you to love the game as much as I do. I absolutely love this game. I'll read books on it all the time and listen to this kind of stuff. I want them to love this as much as I do.
So I'd say switching gears a little bit to dive into the nitty gritty with catching.
Yep.
I guess maybe start from the college level. When you're recruiting a catcher, what are you looking for, maybe mechanically a little bit? And, as much as you want to dive into, how you develop catchers, drills. And I always ask towards the end, at least being in a facility where I'd say our average age is closer to 12-ish, 9 to 18. But is there anything you see missing that they need to develop younger, and that we as facilities and coaching younger teams and age groups that we need to focus on more to get them prepared to compete and maybe get recruited?
Well, catching is just like everything going on right now. It is changing drastically. So I'm still learning from it as well. But I would say one of the big things we look for in a catcher, and it really goes back to what your needs are. Right now, we are blessed with a 4 or 5 tool catcher at our program who's got a chance of playing professional baseball for this year. Very, very good behind the plate, very good at the dish as well. So for us, we got to try to replace him. He's a senior. So we have a younger freshman kid in right now who's pretty good behind the plate, and then we got a freshman committed that's pretty good at the plate. So you got to find out if you want an offensive catcher or a defensive catcher, or if you're blessed to have one that can really do both, then you're lucky. So I think both of our young guys that we have are going to do very, very well, and I think they will exceed both of those areas. But it really depends what kind of guy you want. When we're looking from an offensive standpoint, again, just like anything hitting-wise, can he handle the bat? Does he have the kind of swing that plays into your approach as an offensive team? We're a flat bat through the zone kind of hitting approach. That's what I like to teach. That's what I like. From behind the plate, he's got to be able to do a lot of things. He's got to be able to receive the ball well and quietly. Is he a leader back there? As in the catching world, you got to be a leader. That's why you're called the field general. You see everything. You got to be knowledgeable back there. You got to be able to take charge. Whether you're a freshman or a senior in high school, you're coming in, you're going to play. So you got to be able to be vocal and take charge and not be afraid to make mistakes. Like we talked about going back to almost yelling with guys and teaching them and stuff. When we're doing IO or there's game situations in the fall and scrimmages, don't be afraid to be over aggressive and call a different cut or, back pick here and there. Do it, appropriately, game situation, but don't be afraid to make mistakes, because as a catcher, you got to be the leader, and that's the most important part back there. Does he throw well? I think that's something that we can develop, receiving as well, blocking. I mean, there's so many parts that go into it. To be a full-round catcher and to find a catcher that has everything right away, especially coming out of high school and college, is rare. It really is tough. And most of those guys who do have it are probably on the draft board somewhere or going bigger than us. So I think it just really depends on, again, what your needs are. Kind of going off what you said, too, with the younger guys, and we do the same thing. We teach everything now. So I was an old-school catcher. Never really went down to the one knee setup, excuse me, what you see now. So we have our guys train everything from one knees, both knees, to a regular stances, to attack stance. You name it, any kind of stance that you've heard, we probably have our guys train it, especially in the wintertime. We get on the machines a lot. I think the more these guys can receive, the better. That's, they catch all our bullpens, and I know it stinks, and from experience, it was awful, probably the worst things, but it definitely makes you a better ball player in 2 ways. I thought it helped me out receiving, obviously, a lot better. I'm catching dudes, when I was in college who were, pro ball guys, major leagues dropping down. Jay Happ, Roy Oswalt, Brad Lidge had the chance to catch. A lot of dudes, Ken Giles, who threw 100. So it helped me be real quiet, real soft with my hands. But also helped me when I got to the plate, too, because it was helping me track balls and see spin a lot better, too. So I think the more guys can catch in bullpens or off machines is really going to help them out with their hands. I'm a big transfer guy, so we really work transfer. Again, that's something that has changed over the years. When I was growing up, it was catch and kind of pull to your ear, like right away, and then you almost have to double clutch to get yourself going. Now we teach our guys to get the ball out in our bare hand as soon as they catch it, so essentially in front of my body or at least to the side once I start turning. The more you can develop those kind of things and those drill works, and that goes from standing up to going full go to having them throw the ball off the wall to each other and just get their momentum working. That's huge to me, and that's what I love doing. I want to develop these guys. Even our best guy, I want to make sure he gets better every single day when they come to work for catching.
Do you have is there kind of a routine they go through right before? Because I know flexibility and things like that are super important.
Yeah, definitely. When our catchers get there, if we're doing strictly catching work that day, excuse me, they'll do a hip routine first. So they'll go through the normal stretch, and then we add in the hip routine. Just about 6-7 different drills where they're against the wall, getting their hips loose, just overstretching those up so we can get flexible as we can. We got some pretty big catchers. Both are two to three of the catchers are 6'2" and 6'1". So we got some bigger catchers from a size standpoint. I was a small guy. I was only about 5'7" when I played, 5'8". So it was a little easier for me to get low to the ground. So they do that, and then we go into an arm care program, just like most people do, a plyo kind of routine. We don't make it mandatory, but I do encourage it for our catchers because they throw just as much as pitchers do, if not more. So we get them doing that, and then we go into just some soft hand receiving drills typically right away. A couple receiving drills easy off the machine. If we're strictly doing that, we'll break balls. We'll get some velo going in. We'll have them offset so they can work side to side. And then blocking routine, same kind of thing. We start short, start all the way down, get used to getting hit by the ball again. And this is good for any levels. I mean, you can use it with tennis balls, hard balls, you name it. It was something that I always did with our academy back home and the travel ball programs I used to work with. So tennis balls all the way down, getting hit by the ball, and then gradually working your way up to hands down, dropping your knees, moving side to side, driving side to side. And then you can kind of really put it on again. You can get creative. I mean, there's stuff on Instagram and Twitter nowadays and social media where you see people blocking footballs and, doing tag plays. For me, I think it gets a little bit carried away at times. For me, again, I'm traditional, like do what's going to be successful and make you a better ball player, right? Do baseball-related drills. That's how I see it. You play with a baseball, you block a baseball, go block a baseball. Tennis ball is obviously the same thing, just softer for some of the younger kids so they can get used to getting hit by a ball. But we still use tennis balls, again, with our receiving. When they use bare hands, they're going receiving stuff. Again, if you're too hard, that tennis ball is going to pop off. If you're too hard with a hard ball, that ball's going to sting your hand. It's going to hurt. So any kind of variations that way I think is important. And then just gradually getting better, have some kind of plan for each and every part of the game that you can develop these guys on.
Was there anything, like you said, you caught big leaguers that were throwing pretty hard. Mm-hmm. Is there any tricks with the receiving that you don't get thumbed or anything that once you saw it? And was there a certain velo that all of a sudden it was like, I gotta do this or I'm gonna get killed here kind of thing? Or
don't blink. Honestly, it was a jump in. When the first year I started doing it, I had broken my throwing hand thumb. So, and this is going from, competitive college baseball, but, at the Division III level to catching AAA big leaguers. And I remember one of the first guys I ever caught that threw really hard that I was not used to was Scott Matheson, who is now over in Japan playing. I remember the guy's like, hey, he throws really hard. I'm like, yeah, everyone throws hard here. And you just kind of hope it's within your shoulder's reach right here. He actually threw one. I remember the first day that was like super high. I lifted my hand up and like threw my arm all the way back. But no, I think the big thing for velo is just relaxing yourself, breathing. You hear that in kind of every aspect of the game of baseball, whether you're pitching, hitting, defense, is to breathe. And I think just relaxing your body, relaxing your eyes, relaxing your hands really helps you, track pitches. And I still struggled even after doing it for 2-3 years and parts of 13, 14. If I had been off for a week and then came back and did it, I would struggle for the first guy or so. Just because those guys, they're bred differently. They're unique. They want to be specific where you're on the plate. Their breaking balls are really, really good. Their fastballs all move. That's why they're at that level, or why guys are rehabbing down. And it's, it was a good experience, obviously, but I think the big thing, like I said, was just kind of relaxing your mind and relaxing your eyes and hands, because, again, if you try to go out and get that pitch, you're gonna get it there, and hopefully you catch it in the good part of the glove. So
yeah, what's the best story you have from your minor league or your?
This coming. This is it. So I had a chance to catch Roy Oswalt during one of his rehab assignments. So it was a makeup doubleheader. So we were finishing a completion of the first game, and then they had a 7-inning doubleheader after that. So we were leading off that makeup game. So the catcher who was catching at the time, John Swomey, said, hey, can you come out a little bit earlier because I got to lead off and, catch Roy. I said, yeah, no problem. So typically I would always warm up the left fielder. Our bullpen was right behind there. So the first 3-4 innings, I would always warm him up. So I was loose. So I get out there and I'm clearly not loose, and Roy's on the mound, and there's a big crowd behind him. We got a grass area behind our bullpen, and Roy throws the first pitch. I catch it. I throw it back, and it goes straight over Roy's head into the grass area where all the fans are. And remember, Roy's not big. Roy's probably about 5'8", 5'9", maybe. So all the guys behind me are laughing. I'm like, saying some bad words in my head and like embarrassed that I can be. So next pitch comes in, I catch it, I spike it back to him right at his feet, and I'm like, oh, this is so bad. I felt like the biggest, man, I'll probably never play baseball. This guy's thinking, what is this kid doing back here? Finally, the third one I catch, and I just kind of real soft lob it back to him, and I got it back to him. He kind of just shook his head. One of those, but it was by far one of the most embarrassing parts of catching in the 3-4 years I was there. But I can look back and laugh on it now for sure.
I say Roy probably never forgot you.
Nah, when you're done, the guys come in, they always give you knuckles and everything. He kind of just put his head down and shook like this clown. But yeah, it was good. I learned a lot being out there just about the game in general, being able to pick brains with the pitchers and everything, and again, see some of the best guys in the game.
So I guess I would ask you, so do you think that kids, little leaguers and middle school and high school ages, do you think that there's not enough of a attention to the receiving end of it, considering that's what, to be realistic, you receive almost every pitch that doesn't get hit in the game. Yet you probably block, 8 balls a game? And you probably throw 1 or 2 times, especially at our level. If you have a good arm, I know your guys' people don't like to run on all the time. But do you think that people spend too much time, let's fix why we're not popping a 2-0 to a 2-2, as well as I'd like to talk about your thoughts on how everybody in today's age throws a 1-7, a 1-8, and a 1-9. Yeah, these dudes in the big leagues are only averaging there's 12 of them that average a 1-9, and it's upper 1-9s, 1-9-7. So we'll get into that. Yeah. But just is there not enough attention paid to receiving, considering you do it so much, compared to blocking and throwing?
Yeah, I think, you're right on with a lot of that, what you're asking, what you're saying. And, receiving has changed too. Again, going back to now you see a lot of the, real mute to the catch and pull kind of thing. We train that a little bit, but it's tough because it's, you see a lot of kids who catch and pull where it's supposed to be more of a one motion. Like Real Muto does it the best, and he's outstanding at what he does. For me, I want to be quiet. I want to keep my gloves still as can be. So again, going back, there's a lot of receiving drills that are out there and ways to receive. I would focus mostly on me if I was a younger coach or a guy working with younger kids. Receiving, blocking is important because it's something, like you said, it doesn't happen a whole lot, but it can dictate the game. You don't block a ball, that ball is to the backstop. We got runners on, winning run now goes to second base or third base. Okay, and what it does is it gives that pitcher a lack of confidence. So especially at a young age, how those kids get. And even at our level, you see pitchers who throw a breaking ball and gets away, and then I'm calling pitches and I call a breaking ball again to our catcher, and he's like, do you really want to call that again? And the pitcher's like, oh man, I just spiked one. Do I really want to throw it again? So it goes a lot into it. So I would still concentrate on blocking because, again, for me, like if I took time off, the first thing I want to do is block a ball because I got to get used to getting hit to it again. And that's the biggest thing, is getting that motion, that attack to go block a ball. So blocking is important. You don't say you have to spend on, like if you're doing an hour lesson, there's no reason to spend a full hour on blocking because it's just too much. That's too much grind because you're never going to block that much, like you said, Jake, in a game. But definitely receiving, and again, for me, like I said, is the exchange in your footwork. Your footwork is almost like hitting, where you got to be on time. You got to be in a good athletic position where we get to our final base and the throw. So if we can have a really good exchange and really good footwork, that's going to make up for a lack of an arm strength. It's going to make me be more athletic. A good example was Carlos Ruiz. When Carlos Ruiz played for the Phillies, he did not throw very, very well. He was probably 2-0, maybe even worse, okay? But he had a really good exchange. He really barely ever bobbled the ball, and he had really good feet. So for him, that's why he threw a lot of guys out, is because and he used to one-hop balls, if you guys remember watching some. A lot of them were short hops or one-hops. He really didn't have the arm strength, but his release and his exchange were so good. And I loved watching him, and I got to work with him a little bit when he rehabbed with us. It was outstanding. So I think, to me, the biggest thing, if you can work the exchange, work the footwork, going off of the catching, again, with the receiving drills and still concentrate on blocking, that's where kids will really make up a lot of, the catching drills and the confidence they have behind the plate.
So what would you say are, 3 to 5 of your favorite drills for necessarily receiving as well as maybe footwork and transferring, since, you kind of highlighted those three as the three that you focus on in particular, and I'm guessing that's what you recruit too.
Yeah.
Good footwork, good transfers, and guys who can receive.
Yeah, so one of the drills we like doing, and we kind of make it a combo. So they'll receive one, whether it's off a machine or me throwing it in, and it could be, you can mix it up. You can have them go in their primary stance, where typically we're using with nobody on base, or you can have them go all, out of their secondary or their attack stance where there's a runner on base type deal. But so they'll receive one, they'll block one, and then they'll pop their feet and either have them actually throw, or if we're inside, they just work their exchange and footwork. Just to kind of put it all together, kind of keep them up and moving. You can also change it up. Sometimes we do receive, pop your feet, block, and recover. That's a big part, going off of the blocking stuff, Jake, like we talked about. Recovering is the biggest part. Not necessarily can you block the ball, but can you get to your feet quick enough in a range where that ball doesn't roll too far away, where we can still make a play on a base runner. So that's one of the variations we do a lot. As far as our footwork, same thing. We're working soft hands. So we go typically no glove first, and they're down in their stance and they're working through the ball just so they can feel the exchange. And we're looking for if they're getting loopy or if they're getting a clean exchange straight out. Then we progressively go to the training mitts. Again, same thing. We're on a machine, smaller gloves, smaller pocket. They got to be a little easier and quicker with it. And then we obviously work full go off the machine with velo, with breaking balls. If you see a guy getting too quick, breaking balls are the best way to keep them back, because they got to let that ball get to them, but still be quick enough to gain that little bit of ground, in a linear motion towards second base. So doing a lot of those is big for us off the machine, and it allows me, because the guys can feed each other. And as a coach or instructor, you can get closer back with those guys and really help them out. So those are really the main stuff when we're working on our receiving and our footwork kind of drills is what we're focusing on and how we run them. And we just slowly progress, like I said, from bare hand, small glove to big glove to full go.
Well, I think that's awesome. I think that's kind of one of the things that maybe, I don't know, I would say they struggle with, but I would say at the younger levels, I think they don't, not that they don't understand how to teach catching, but I don't know if they know how to structure it out to build a good catcher. What to look for. And, I think, we'll get into it too about getting down on, in the one knee position and, your thoughts on that, throwing out of the one knee position and, what it brings and the versatility. But, I think one thing today is, we get these trends that start, I don't know if you want to call them trends. I mean, obviously the analytics are good stuff, and I don't mean it as in like it's a trend and it's going to go away. I mean, it's not going anywhere. We have the numbers and stuff, but, getting these trends of where we want to kind of skip steps in building hitters, catchers, infielders, and outfielders, how do we make sure that we're teaching them the fundamentals of catching first, the right footwork, the right exchange, how to properly block, how to recover, all that stuff instead of skipping to, well, let's get down on one knee because JT Realmuto gets down on one knee and he does the pull across. And, it looks really cool and it's probably more efficient and it probably steals a couple more strikes. But on the same end, like you said, are you doing it in one motion or are you catching it and pulling it, and which one are you teaching? So that makes kind of sense what I'm saying there.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think you're right on. Like I would, if I was going back and working with younger guys, me personally, I probably would not teach them the pull through right away. I would let them develop as a catcher, getting you, because again, catching's tough. Just because you're on a machine catching velo, like, okay, well, I call it, 90-mile-an-hour fastball. What's a lot different when you get in a game though too? And then how do you have a batter there? A lot of drills, remember, there's no batter there. It's easier to work through. You don't have to worry about a swing getting in your way or whatever it may be. So I think the easier or the more you train it, Jake, like you said, with the younger guys, just being traditional, right? Because again, athleticism, right? That's what catchers are. If they don't have athleticism, it's going to be tougher to do a lot of the stuff they are with. They got to be athletes back there. So, I would train younger kids traditional. Again, like you said, receiving, working that way, getting used to getting hit by a ball, blocking, breaking everything down as much as you can to a small T. And then as they grow up and they develop and keep going forward, then you can get a little bit more, trendy with them, like, with the receiving stuff. You can have them go down on one knee. Like I said, our guys, we do teach them the one knee receiving, and really it's a receiving drill that we do. We just put them on one knee with the training mitt and have them start with their glove on the ground and have them work up. We do some funny ones. We do the Superman one where they literally lay on their stomachs straight out with their hands right here, and we're either working breaking balls that are dropping right into their glove, or we're working low fastballs, okay, and they're just working up to the zone. As catchers, we want to work low to high, not high to low. All right? If we're working high to low, we're pushing that fastball or whatever pitch out of the zone. We want to work low to high and push it up into the zone, if anything. So we put them straight on their stomachs, turn the velo up a little bit, and have them work up this way and just work straight here. But again, it's working their hands, making them be quiet, making them focus from a different aspect. That's probably the craziest one we do, by the way. We don't do too many crazy ones, but they enjoy it. But they're right here, and they're just working straight up to the zone. So, but again, I think going, like you said, Jake, with your point is really develop them as a younger kid first. As they develop, as they really get bought into this position, then you can develop them more with the newer stuff going on. Because a lot of kids, they kind of get stuck behind the plate at a younger age. I don't know how many guys fully catch from a young age all the way through. Even myself, I really started catching when I was 10. And I pretty much did stick with it for the most part, but I put a little bit of outfield every now and then.
It's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
I think not sticking – I mean, you want to work them behind the plate, but I think putting them out in the infield, putting them in the outfield develops athleticism, especially you're talking about. As catchers, we're athletic. We're supposed to be athletic. I know I get a bunch of my catching stuff from you, working with the catchers at U Sciences. But, I think kind of going off of that is, what is your thoughts on the one knee down, and what is it effective for? Why do we do it? How do you throw out of it? How do you why should, if I'm on the other side right now, I'm a third base coach, why shouldn't I just steal?
Yeah.
It seems like you're going to be, you would think you'd be less efficient throwing from a knee with velocity and stuff of that nature than you would.
Yeah, no, dude, you're right on, because as a coach, we teach base running, and we see as soon as catchers' knees go down, whether it's a pitch down or they're going one knee down, like we're telling them to go to be aggressive and take off. So I think it has its advantages, though. I really do. Like I said, with guys who are catching a lot, with our guys catching bullpens, I really allow them to do it in bullpens more than anything, just to give their hips and their legs a little bit of a breather. I think it does help them work bottom of the zone to up the zone and get that feel. We'll even put wrist weights on our catchers' wrists, so they have to be a little quicker getting to the spot. I think that's probably one of the biggest things with receiving is catchers are late getting there. That's why we lose strikes. So we will use that a lot, and I think that has its advantages of being lower to the ground with the one knee, where I can really get low. Throwing out of it, I don't know how it works because I've never done it. So I'll ask one of my guys. But again, I think it does have its advantages, but I also think it limits them, because I think when you are lower, let's just say on one knee, your zone as a catcher, right, becomes smaller. A lot of times they get curved a little bit, or they get turned in, where I lose this area of my body, right, where a pitcher's kind of throwing to. Where if I'm let's just go back traditional style, 2 feet on the ground, and I'm up a little bit, I'm square or slightly turned, my target's bigger, it's easy for me to kind of react side to side. If I get down on one knee, in my mind, again, I don't catch a whole lot anymore here and there, but I feel like it limits my range. And if I start getting, let's just say a runner steals and my right knee's down and my glove takes me that way, it almost tilts me over. Okay, so now I become unathletic from that standpoint. I really got to have a pitcher that can locate with the one knee down, where I can be athletic and drive forward off that down leg. So again, I guess that maybe depends on what kind of pitcher you have, and what's thrown and what pitch is called. But again, one thing we talk about with our catchers is don't give away pitch selections either. So if I go right knee down on fastballs and I go 2 feet regular and breaking balls, and I'm constantly doing that, whether there's a runner on base or not, like a good team might pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Where does your glove go? So it's still development for me as well.
I think that it should be more geared towards the more athletic catchers, if that makes sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all athletic, but, some are a lot more athletic than others. I mean, do you think it should be more geared towards how athletic you are as a catcher compared to, hey, you're a catcher, we're going down on one knee, and this is how we're going to do it?
Yeah, I think at our level it's different too. It's kind of similar we talk about with hitting, Jake. Are we really going to change a college hitter's swing now? Probably not. We can try, but a lot of those guys are set in stone. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. Like, it's tough to really revamp a swing. I think it goes similar for catching, where guys are set in their stone. Like, if they're if they've been doing the one knee for the last 4 years of high school and it's worked for them, I'm probably not going to change it. But they got to be really good at it though too. They got to be a guy back there that I can't be having missed balls. I got to be able to block from that standpoint, which is a big thing now too. Is if you are on one knee, how do you block? Yeah, it could be a little bit easier, but you're also given that range of your body off too, because you are a little bit smaller. You don't want to cover as much area as you will with 2 knees going down. So I think it depends. Again, if he is athletic, can he still be able to move side to side? Can he still be able to get those pitches that aren't, like I said, in the receiving zone, so to speak, within your shoulders? But yeah, I'm either way with it still, honestly, right now. Like I said, we teach it, but if they do it, they do it. If they don't do it, again, for me, I just want them to control the game, the running game back there, catch balls. If a ball hits your glove, you shouldn't miss it. It shouldn't get to the backstop, unless you're diving for it way outside. We do actually we keep a catcher's chart for a lot of our inner squads and bullpens, and they get points, for stuff like that. If they lose points, if they get a pass ball, if they miss a block, They get points for if they backpick guys, if they catch pop-ups, if they make a tag play. So all those kind of things, you can get creative with it so those kids can understand, how important these in. Like the bigger, more important stuff, blocking with runners on second and third, they get more points for that. If it's behind, they lose more points. So that's how you can get creative, I think, in a practice setting, and even in a facility setting with guys, is give them a point system to work with.
So I got 2 more things for you.
Yep.
I want to talk about, and then do you got anything left? Want to get into the 1719 high school guys. I want to get into.
Where are they?
Dude, if you go on Twitter, they're all over the place.
I would love to see it.
I think, I want to talk a little bit about pop time because I think it has a very false narrative to it. And I think, you catch kids with their butts up, when they're doing these pop times, realistically compared to the in-game pop time, as well as, like we said, there's a chart out there that literally shows you there's like 20 guys in the whole entire MLB that have a consistent 1-9. It's about 20 guys. And, it's ridiculous the fact that they're throwing 1-9s consistently in the big leagues. And yet we have a 15-year-old kid that's throwing 1-7, 1-8. Like, I can't figure that one out. I'd love to, do you think it has something to do with how we measure pop times at these showcases and not making it realistic enough for the pop times? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're not getting a realistic enough number on the pop time compared to what it really is.
Yep. So I'll give you a couple points, and I think this is where it gets interesting, like you said, with these numbers. You have guys who are throwing better than big leaguers, but, why are they not up there? But here's the big thing. A 2-0 on the bag, I'll take it every single day of the week. So accuracy. Can you be accurate with it? I don't care if you throw a 1-7 if it's up in the air and over the second baseman's head. That doesn't do me any good. Okay? Or there's actually a chart. I believe if you Google catcher's pop time chart, there's a picture of an infielder with his glove out in about 5 or 6 different locations, and it tells you if it's a 195, it's right above the bag. And then it goes 2-0, 2-5, and kind of around like a clock. So the higher up the throw, the slower your throw is going to be because it doesn't really transition to what we're trying to do. Again, if the high throw, that's a long tag, the dude's safe. Okay, so accuracy is important to me. Again, I think you can train pop times because, again, like I talked about, exchange and footwork are going to make up for a lack of arm. So I didn't have the greatest arm strength, but I could throw a little bit, but I wasn't always accurate though either. When I threw my good pop times. Funny story with throwing is that Riley Cooper, I don't know if you remember Riley Cooper played for the Eagles for a little bit, played at the University of Florida, and I got to play against him in the summer in the Valley League one time. And actually my dad saw this and witnessed it. It was actually against my brother's team. Got a fastball. I probably threw one of the best balls I've ever thrown. I don't know what it was. Had to be 1-9 something low. And he stole second base without standing up. Like he didn't slide. He just ran straight to second base. And that ball was right here. Like all my guy had to do is go right here. Like it wasn't a bad throw by any means. So, but it was accurate, and those are the best throws. It's just like hitting. When you hit a ball, you don't feel it sometimes, right? Those ones that you get out of the ballpark, just like throwing. The best ones you don't feel. It just comes out of the hand quick and easy and it's there. But accuracy, right? And I think, like you said, Jake, I think a lot of times when we go to these showcases or when there are showcases there, they put the mats on top of home plate. A lot of times the guys are standing on top of the mats, or right behind home plate. Like as a catcher, you should never be in front of home plate or on top of the plate when you throw because most hitters are in the back of the box. Let's be real. Most big league hitters stand – you almost look like their foot's out of the box. If you watch close enough on TV, their foot – so now you're backed up even further. So when you're throwing, I think it's a little realistic. I also think guys are very quick on the trigger. I'm very old school with our guys where I literally listen for the catcher's glove to hit and the second baseman's glove to hit. That's your pop time. If you think it's slow, sorry, be better. Right? But that's just how I train my guys, and that's how I go off it because that's how it was when I grew up, right? That's when I was coming up, it was we want to hear the pops. One thing we do every now and then is we go pop to tag. So it's catcher's glove, and then once the middle infielder, whoever catches it, it's when their glove hits the ground. because that's probably more realistic of a pop time because, again, a 1.8 up here ain't a 1.8 down here in the tag. So that's a big difference in my mind, and I think to me, that's probably more of a realistic pop time. If guys really want to get creative with it, when does that middle guy get the glove on the ground in front of the bag? Maybe there's a cone there at showcases where the infielder has to catch and touch it, but that to me is more realistic than these 1.7s, because I think let's just say a kid's a 1.8, right? A 1.8 over here though, and the guy supposed to get down is probably closer to a 1.9, and that's okay. That could happen a little bit more, and that's more realistic, I think.
I think we've looked at the chart. I know it's one of your favorite things to show your catch. And it is interesting. It literally shows you the pop times per each spot. It puts an infielder in the middle, and it's kind of their glove in all these different areas, and it shows you the average pop time from catching the ball in that area. And it literally shows you if you put it on the bag, majority of the time that you getting a good pop time out of it, which I think is
you'll be under a 2L. And I think a lot of high school kids say, well, what should my pop time be? Well, in high school, if you can be a 2L to a 2.1, 2.2, like you're good as long as you're accurate. Again, you're going to make up time as you get older and bigger and stronger because your feet are going to get faster. Hopefully, your arm strength will develop a little bit. And again, for me, get that exchange done properly right away, and you'll be fine. So I threw some really good times, when I played, but I was probably, high 1.9s, consistently 2.0, and that's okay. That's fine.
And I think, with what you guys got down there at Clarion right now, you guys got a little gift back there. He can really sling that thing around the yard, that's for sure. But going off of that, he's pretty good, that kid back there. But going off of that, how do you get these guys, and I know he likes to do it with the back picks and stuff like that. How do you create that? Do you guys practice that first off, the back picks? How often do you practice them? Also, how do you get kids to do it in a game and know when they should do it, when they shouldn't do it?
Yeah, as much as throwing to second base is important, like everyone wants to do, you got to work on third and first base just as much too. And for me, I stunk at throwing the ball to first base. It was just an awkward thing for me to get my body completely turned, all the way this way to throw over there. So I was not very good at it. It was one thing that I used to practice a lot, and whether it's on a knee or you're popping your feet and turning. So when our guys do throw, if we're having a throwing day or we had a defensive day and we want the catchers to throw at the end, we go around the horn. So we typically have we have 3 catchers right now. So the first guy will go to first, second guy go to second, third guy go to third, and we just keep rotating. And then we'll maybe have them just practice. And we always have a guy standing in. You have a right-handed hitter and sometimes a left-handed hitter. They get to pick what they want to practice on. Because, again, it's more realistic. You can't just drop to your feet and throw to first base if there's a lefty hitter there. You got to create some lanes. So practice the way the game is going to be played is huge. And then getting them to understand is probably the hardest part, honestly. Knowing situations, not being so obvious if it's going to happen, right? So one thing I used to do, I would look at my infielders and kind of just wave my hand off the side of my knee, or like I would tap my knee, okay? And then I would look for a visual back from them that, hey, this might happen if I get a good ball to throw. And for me, I was always looking for a fastball to that side of the plate. So if I'm looking to back pick the first, I was looking for something hard that I can handle on this side so I can get myself cleared to go over there. If it was a bad pitch, that's not coming. I think that's what guys need to understand. They say, oh, this kid's got a big lead. The next pitch I'm throwing, well, that pitch could be 3 inches the wrong way, and I got to try to completely throw the ball over there, and now we're rushing, we're getting off our timing, and the ball's in the right field. So understanding what pitches you can throw on, okay, to those bases, understanding the situation of the game. Is that the winning run? Are you down 5, 6, 7, 8 runs? Are you up? When the right time to do it is important, definitely, and it's just tough. And I think that just needs to be communicated with the staff. Like, hey, take a peek, right? That if we can get them, let's get them. If we're down 10 runs, we're probably not doing it because we don't want to be down 11 runs if we throw it away. So just understanding those parts of the game.
I think that's interesting. Especially with, I think it can really save a game or an inning sometimes
Yeah.
you kind of get in one of those ruts where, it's kind of, it's like, how do we get out of this inning? We can't seem to find a way to get out. Can't seem to way to get, find a pitch and make a pitch here. So, it can really get you out of big innings, but, I feel like you see a lot more kids throwing it away in the right field line and down the left field line and maybe in the center field if you got a kid who, trusts his arm and his feet well enough to try to back pick to second, and I feel like you see more guys who want to do it or either afraid to do it or, they pick the wrong pitch and they throw it away and then you're kind of sitting there and it's like,
Yeah, I mean, you're right on. You got to look for outs. Like if we're struggling, our pitcher's struggling, we're kicking the ball around, you got to look for outs because that's typically when base runners do get a little careless out there. They're not thinking as much. Bases could be loaded. They just scored 2, 3, 4 runs. Guy on first base isn't really paying attention because they got momentum. Look for an out. But at the same time, you also can't throw down the first base 8 times a game. You're giving it away. They're not gonna get a lead anymore. So you really got to find that right time to do it, where, okay, guys sleeping a little bit, not showing it. If you back pick 2, 3 times, in one inning or in a couple innings early in the game, you're not going to be able to do it again. So you do got to find that right time and look for an out for sure.
Now, are you promoted, how do I say this? Are you promote, hey, let's throw. If you like it, let's go. Is that kind of the mentality? Is it a green light all the time? Or is it, hey, if you see something in the dugout, I'm going to relay to the catcher, hey, you got green light here? Or, how do you get them to throw first off? I know a lot of catchers aren't confident in back picking.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like infielders from a perspective of, you catch the relay throw from the guy on a single and, he takes his big turn, but infielders don't trust themselves enough to turn, catch, boom, back pick at first base.
Yeah.
It's the same idea, but how do we get them comfortable with doing it? And doing it in big situations, big games, that can really change a game and win you a championship, or maybe steal you a game you shouldn't have won.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's a fine line of both, obviously. Again, we're blessed with a guy back there that's got some pretty good feel. So he does have the green light to kind of throw. But again, we got to warn him because sometimes he does like to throw. And again, throwing back picks too many times in a game isn't going to do anything. And it definitely can save a game because there's teams who love the run. Seton Hills, some of the programs on our side, IUPs and Cows, they love to run. So if we can shut down early, obviously it's going to help us out in the long run. But I look for it. Obviously, being a catching guy, obviously got a pretty good feel and try to guess a lot of times when guys are going to run or if they're getting too big of a lead. I'll try to give our guys a verbal. I just take a peek, okay, and they know because we implement it a lot. Just because I say take a peek doesn't mean throw it, like we just said. Like it's got to be that perfect pitch that you can handle and throw. And if it's not, it's okay. It's almost like a steal, right? If you don't have a good jump on a steal, you're told to abort and break it down. And it's a fake steal. Well, either pump fake or if you just didn't have it or whatever, just don't just throw it because I'm telling you to take a peek or you thought he had a big lead. Because that's when things go down the drain quick. So it is a fine line. I think you got to have some trust in your catcher. But I think you got to have some feel as a coach too on what the situations are and where we're at in the game.
What do you think about it from an infielder perspective?
I'm old school. You got to practice it.
Yeah, you got to practice. You got to look for it. I mean, you got to look for flashes in the middle. If guys get big secondary leads on the second, and we can flash right away. As soon as that second or third shuffle hits as a base runner and our shortstop breaks right away, we got a shot. Now, again, today's day and age is base runners are a lot more – they want that. They want catchers to throw so they can steal. So, again, it really dictates the kind of the game we're in. If that's a big run, go ahead. Try and get them, but be smart about it. Like you gotta be good too. You gotta be accurate. And you can't be throwing those balls. Back picks are huge because you got to be accurate on those because if those get away, it's a circus,
So the thing completely with throwing as a catcher is be accurate.
Be accurate.
Some kids that listen is be accurate. If you can be accurate, you can throw the ball all over the yard.
It's a game of locations, right? Pitchers throw to locations. Outfielders hit cutoff men, their locations. Catchers throw the ball back to the pitcher and they throw to the glove and the chest of all the position guys. So you can preach that from a development standpoint at an academy. We can preach that at a college level. Play good catch. Play good catch. That's one of the worst things I hate seeing is when our guys don't play good catch. Whether it's warm-ups, whether they're just getting their arm loose on the side. There's no reason we're college athletes and kids have been throwing baseballs their whole lives. Play catch up here, right? That's where we got to be. If you can play good catch and be accurate and locate, you're going to be very successful no matter what position you play.
Okay. I mean, that's maybe it's a little harsh sometimes, but with our younger guys, at some point, they've probably heard it a million times. If you can't catch and throw, you can't play baseball. They hit
100%.
you
100%.
happen, but if you can't catch and throw, and I think it's tough these days. Obviously with the quarantine, but just in general, I know when I was growing up, we were outside playing, run the base, football. I mean, you were constantly catching and throwing, and snowball fight, you name it, and today, I don't think kids they're not playing outside as much and just, throwing, and I call it like throwing athletically, where you're just trying to peg your buddy on the run versus, in a lesson where it's break, throw, and it's I almost dread when someone comes in like, well, he needs to work on his throwing. It's like, you got to throw. Like everyone has a natural arm slot. There's certain little mechanical things, but in the end, you got to go. I had a brick wall on the side of my house. It's probably still there with the chalk square. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot of room in between the house next to me, but I was out there every day, just tennis ball off the wall, trying to.
And I think that's the big thing. I mean, honestly, and we say this a lot to our guys, and my dad has said it to us a lot. It's not what you do at practice, what you do outside of practice. Those are the guys who are in the big leagues. Those are the guys who are playing pro ball. Those are the guys who are going above and beyond. Whether they're trying to get better or they're just improving the game so they can stay ready to play at that next level. That's what you got to do, and I think that's where kids just, again, it's a different day and age, and I understand that. We all do, but it takes 15 minutes to put a net down in your basement probably now and take a bucket of tennis balls and throw them into a square, or sit on the ground and throw a ball off the wall and field it with no hands, or for receiving, catching, throw it off the wall. That's the best you'll do. You're in your stance. I tell young guys all the time, I said, how many guys watch TV and play video games? And they all raise their hand. I said, when you're doing that, squat. Be in your catching stance. If you're watching the World Series or watching football during a commercial, get in your catching stance. Develop your legs to strengthen, to get used to being in that stance, because that's going to make you better in the long run. You're getting better. You're not just sitting on the couch watching, talking baseball. That's huge already. But what are you doing in between innings? Do you have a fireplace that you can bounce a tennis ball off of and work on your receiving? That's all huge stuff. And to me, the stance stuff is huge because kids really do have bad stances a lot of times, whether on their tippy toes or offset. So if you can train it and then get them to do that on the outside, that's what makes really good baseball players.
I think we'll probably wrap it up there because we can go on, and it's New Year's Eve, so I know Jake's got that he has to get ready for. But so yeah, overall, Doc, we really appreciate it. It was very insightful, and we'd love to have you back because there's so much more to. I know Jake loves getting into the hitting, the nitty gritty there and stuff. But we really appreciate it, man. And, best of luck, being with a new program and rebuilding. That's hard. And, I think it's just a matter of time for you with, just talking to you now.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And love to come back on and love talking baseball, like I said. So anything I can do for you guys, I'll gladly will. And again, just be happy to be on this podcast.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much. And
thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys.
Appreciate you, brother.
See you guys.
Take care.